Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Calhoun County Young Democrats podcast. I'm Cory Bradford, and tonight I am joined with Robert Hunter. He is running for the state representative seat out of the 28th district. Robert, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. So first things first, I think a lot of people may be a little confused about like how the House districts are drawn in Alabama. So when we say 28th district, what communities specifically would you be serving?
I would be serving specifically the downtown metro of Etowah County. It covers Gaston, Atala, Rainbow City, and it stops before you hit Southside.
Okay. So mainly like a good bit of Gaston, that particular area.
I'd say literally all of Gaston, most of Atala, a little bit of Rainbow City, and then it cuts off on that back end.
Okay. Are you from Gaston originally?
Been here my entire life.
Okay. And so I think, let's just, I think people can kind of look at this and see that you're pretty young. And young people getting involved in politics is definitely something we need more of. But I think a lot of them find it hard to figure out a place to start. So how did you get started in politics? Where was the inspiration coming from for you to want to help your own community like that?
So I will say, don't hold it against yourself if you get started late. Sometimes there are things that happen in our life that motivate us to do it. In my case, I got motivated when I was around 11 or 12. My father was dealing with Reagan drug crimes. Not drug crimes. The tough on crimes. My brain, I have already knocked 100 doors today. But my the Reaganomics side.
War on drugs, that whole thing, yeah.
And he got resentenced. And I could not understand how violating parole, which could carry anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, could turn into a 30-year stint.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I didn't know at the time, like, oh, no, we're going to add those years back on. And because at that time, the way it was scaled, it affected black men a lot more than it did. Specifically black men that are in metro areas that do not have enough money for a really good lawyer. Yeah. So I was like, that math doesn't make sense. And no one could explain the math of it. They were like, no, I got to tell you the politics of it, which are two distinctly different things when we're talking about human lives. Yeah. And that's where I got my start.
Yeah, no, I think that would motivate anyone in your position to want to, at the very least, figure out more of how it works to kind of explain, like, why is that happening to my father? So I can certainly see that being a place to sort of start. And kind of give us a little rundown. I mean, you have a pretty impressive resume. Kind of give us a rundown of some of the things you've done so far to kind of build up to running for this state house seat. Oh,
Lord. Honestly, it really comes down to, I try my best to help out where I can. And if a community member or community members need help with something and I'm physically able to do it, I do it. Now, I will say, obviously, if I'm running ragged, I have 5 different things, I will tell them, hey, if you want me to, I can try, but I know I would probably give a subpar performance. And that has happened in the past. And someone did have to hold me account on a subpar performance. And I've learned from that. But a part of that learning is restricting yourself depending on what time you actually have to give. Yeah. So in my case, I'm trying to remember, I was a community organizer for the George Floyd protests. After that, when we petitioned our city for better standards, I was able to get on their Human Services Advisory Board. Human Relations Advisory Board. After that, I was talking to another friend of mine, and we were talking about how it's tough for some people to get jobs if they don't have clean ties or good-smelling shirts. Yep. So I helped start the Gadsden Free Store. I did that for 3 years. I based it off of Black Panther Party principles. And from there, the same person who got me hooked on figuring out how we can do mutual aid invited me to another space called Stay Together Appalachian Youth, or STAY. It's a youth leadership and political education programming, and I got involved with that. And once I got involved, I loved it so much that I ended up serving on their board, which I helped oversee a $500,000 budget for 3 years. Okay. And then that's most of the stuff that leads up to more of the political stuff recently, which would be, I'm vice chair of minority affairs for my county party. I am a youth caucus member for the Democratic Party for the last 7 years under the SDEC. And now I'm running for office.
Yeah. Yeah. You've definitely taken the route of kind of building yourself up within the community, making a name for yourself, but also just giving back and showing those leadership skills. And so I definitely think it's appropriate now for you to run for this particular office. A lot of people don't pay enough attention, I think, to state house races, state senate races, and they don't understand that that state legislator has more of a direct effect on your life than probably what's going on in Congress when it comes to, your roads, when it comes to your schools, your hospitals, all of those things. So let's talk a little bit about what some of the issues that you are kind of focusing on the most in this race. I see here rent control, increased wages, and Medicaid expansion. Now, these are obviously issues that affect pretty much any working class individual, particularly young people, young working class families that are just getting started out. All of these issues are absolutely crucial to them. So tell me why these particular issues kind of stand out to you the most, and just how important are they when it comes to really building back up our community?
So what I would say is every single one of those is one of your top 5 most expensive issues that come to you when it comes time to pay your bills. Yeah. But also when it comes to surviving, because you need to have a roof over your head. You need to be able to actually have a decent life expectancy. And also just in general, having the ability to have a decent life. So when it comes time to talk about, hey, I have to find another job because I can't get a full-time job because they won't, once you crack 40 hours, they have to start paying for your health care, and they don't want to do that. Yeah. But Rentman went up on me by $400 because there is no legal upper limit. It's just whatever someone is willing to do to survive. And the thing is, they're like, hey, you can't blame me for raising the rent. Everybody's doing it. And you're like, not everybody's raising it $400 in a month, number one. But number two, I don't buy that rule when you own 45 houses on the block. Yeah. Everybody's literally just you. Just you. Just you. It's like that comic book when T'Challa was saying, oh yeah, I annulled my marriage to you. And you're like, only the Panther priest can do. Yeah. Why are you acting like you didn't do this? And you're like, it wasn't me. It was the Panther priest. You're like, that's you.
You did this.
but also in general, even coming back to family expectations, it's hard sometimes for you to make sure you have time to take care of family members. Yeah. Hey, I would love to watch my nephews, except for this came up and my health insurance went up. And that's another thing. Medicaid expansion touches everybody, everywhere, all the time. Absolutely. Because if we can't expand Medicaid and your local hospital closed down, guess what? Your life insurance goes up. Your health insurance goes up. If I remember correctly, your car insurance could go up because you have people having medical issues trying to drive themselves to the nearest hospital and they crash into something. And even then, on top of that, any type of emergency system will also go up because more people having medical issues means more strokes, while having a lit cigarette means more fires. Fire insurance could go up. So literally everything goes up except for your capacity to live, because what goes down is the millions of dollars that doctors, the lawyers, the custodians, the nurses put into your roads, into your police force, into all of your local stuff. Your trash or your water is another great one.
Yeah, it's all connected. And I think that's what people don't understand when they hear things about Medicaid expansion, rent increases. How does this all affect? It affects everyone, and even the people who may have enough money to where they don't need Medicaid or they're good on their rent. It still affects them because they still have to rely on these public services that you just spoke about. It just degrades the system for everyone when we can't get that expansion and things like that. And that's a huge issue here in Alabama. So I appreciate you speaking out and fighting for that. Now, another thing I want to ask you about. Now we're going to get spicy. Okay. You consider yourself a democratic socialist, correct?
Yes.
Are you a member of the DSA?
Yes.
Okay. So that is one of the main, I think it's the main talking point that Republicans are using against the Democratic Party this year. Is we've seen, obviously, Mamdani's success in New York City. We've seen many other DSA members winning primary races, winning very important elections across the country. And so the Republicans are trying to use, old school Red Scare tactics of, oh, these people are communists, they're Marxists, this, that, and the other. So first of all, I guess I would ask you, why do you consider yourself a democratic socialist? And then second of all, how do you get past the stigma of that in a place like Alabama, where, let's just be honest, the schools here are not teaching the difference between socialism and communism. They're not really teaching any of that like high level political philosophy. You mostly get that at the college level. You're certainly not getting that in most middle schools and high schools in Alabama. So how do you, again, first, why do you define yourself as Democrat socialist? But then how do you reframe that in the minds of people in Alabama who would benefit from some of the things that the DSA platform has within it?
The first thing I would say is I would love to tell a story of the first time I got called a Democratic Socialist. First time I got called a Democratic Socialist, I was about 12. This is right after Trayvon Martin. And I looked a lot like him. And I could be put in situations, and I've been put in situations where I could have got killed and then be like, dang, another one gone. Not my problem, no. But when I mentioned my frustration and fear of that, especially by the time I was 13, I'd already had 2 or 3 officers pop the hip. The first thing wasn't, hey, I am so sorry. I promise this isn't everybody. I promise this isn't every single cop. But I promise you're a first-class citizen. We would not treat you like a dog. Even though in most cases there are animals that have more rights than African Americans. Yeah. People started saying, oh, yeah, that's a pretty socialist take. Like, buddy, you need to be very careful on how, like, in Alabama, for some people, they're like, yeah, for you to vocally say you want better for yourself and for other people, that is a socialist take. You know when I actually was affiliated with the Democratic Party?
When?
18 years old.
Wow.
I was accused of being a socialist 6 years
When
before
you were 12
I was even
years old.
Yeah. I was accused of being a socialist 6 years before I actually became a Democrat.
Wow.
And it boils down from that because these accusations always come from a place of fear and understanding to start with. But also, it's not like we don't have those type of people in our system. And I can understand where some of that fear comes from because there were, for example, Union generals that were communists. Yeah. And from some Southern for some Southern folks, they're like, hey, we still have issues about how the Civil War ended. We still have issues on how this happened. There was a communist amongst their ranks. So we can just say Yankee and communist. And you're like, it was just that one guy, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And also, like, I've heard people call Doug Jones a communist when he starts talking about the prosecution over the bombing. And I'm like, he doesn't identify that way. They're going to call you that because they're preying on the inability for Alabamians to have access to higher education.
Absolutely.
What I would personally say for myself is I'd say my track record speaks for itself.
Yeah.
When I started the Gadsden Free Store, that was built on Black Panther Party principles, which is a communist system. When I started actually doing the work of that free store, I started it with another Democratic Socialist member. I would just say, in my personal perspective of it, is Democratic socialism is the critique specifically of democracy and the Democratic Party. Because when I asked certain Democrats in my local area to step up to defend all folks, that includes disabled, that includes LGBTQ, that includes Hispanic, Asian, that includes Native American. They're the only ones that stepped up consistently were DSA folks. Even with my campaign, the people who step up specifically when I say we're going to be protecting everyone's right to health care, we're going to be protecting people to have a decent minimum wage, I'm called a socialist. And the main people who actually step up and do the work of trying to make people happy, healthy, and better in this state, for at least through my campaign, have been DSA folk.
Yeah, I mean, to call Doug Jones a communist just means you don't know Doug Jones or communist. Like, you don't know either one of those things.
I'm just like,
if you're using that terminology.
That banana is banana bread. And you're like, that isn't even in the same area.
Yeah. It's certainly the terminology, I think, confuses people. And I think, as you just said, I've never really heard it described as a critique not only of, these economic systems, but also of the Democratic Party itself. Because as you stated, you reached out for help from local Democrats within the state, and you saw far more help from DSA members. And that is a familiar story that I'm hearing from a lot of young people coming up in the party. So speaking of that, you're actually also running for chair of the Alabama State Party, the Democratic Party here. So, why would you want to take on that mess, first of all? Because I feel like that's a very messy situation with the state party. But what inspired you to do that? And can you also kind of explain to people what does that even do? What does that position do as chair of the Democratic Party here in the state of Alabama?
So the reason why I want to take it on is the same reason why I originally ran for office, is because I see a need and I want to try to fill it. The more I'm able to fill certain positions, the more I'm able to actually help folk. A great example being, I have no problem. I've been very transparent about this. I've been living off of below poverty line, 22-ish K a year for my entire life. If I win the state legislature position, it goes up to 62 or 63K. I can live comfortably off at 30. Some of that money is going back to the community just because it's the right thing to do, and it's their money to begin with.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about the chairmanship. First thing is we need to actually give the chair less power, because the idea that one person's almighty by the standards of their legal bylaws is terrible positioning, especially when it's positioning, because the bylaws for the most part are based off of like 1973 systems, which is not very helpful when you're trying to encase an entire coalition and not just one particular party boss. But it goes back to being more competitive as an entire state. Excuse me. It goes back to being more competitive as an entire state, and that means if I'm able to win more races, that leads to more people getting more actual protections in their local area. A great example being, in some places, your state legislature is someone that appoints people to your local oversight board of your police officers. So if someone gets their head cracked open and the person that's supposed to investigate them, you don't know who your state legislature is, or you know that there's someone there that will yeehaw the law in a way that is just, whatever he did, he had to do it. It affects the ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah.
So more competitive party means more resources and longer life expectancy from community members. And I will say it's a struggle due to the fact that there have been instigations inside the party, because racial disharmony is one of the main tools that the current administration is using to keep power, which is frustrating. And I've been on the back end of conversations where I say this, and this. And it's not even something radical. It's, hey, man, maybe we shouldn't have our reorganizing meeting the same year as our state party elections. Because now, instead of spending this Saturday going to try to knock 200 doors, I got to be at this meeting. And if I lose the race by 50 votes, this could be the linchpin specifically dealing with that. But I have to go to this meeting in general. But also, just a terrible waste of resources.
Yeah.
I'll give you a great example. Can you go on your phone and look up who is your SDEC member right now?
I would bet not.
No. When's the last time you saw the party have any type of bench training? Like people that are running literally for dog catcher or for treasurer of your local area? Probably not.
Locally, no.
No. How many times has the state party gotten involved in your county party in a positive way, not trying to come in and throw your chair out? Probably not.
Yeah.
These are basic fixes, but these are only basic fixes for someone who actually cares about what happens after the reorganization meeting. If it's someone that only cares about getting themselves elected chair and nothing else happens after that, it gets stuck. I mean, a great example being, we went nearly 4 years with averaging about one social media post per month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was bad. It was real bad. I think there was 6 months they didn't post anything.
Oh my God.
At least their Twitter and sometimes their Facebook. But I can come in and say I'm extremely radical by saying we're going to post guaranteed once a week.
Yeah.
I can be extremely radical by saying we're going to have a media list for people to call and to actually get information out. Because we don't have any of those things. So me popping it out of the ether, or even just a policy tank. The Democratic Party does not have an internal policy tank over trying to see what we can actually use to be more persuasive when we talk to folks, or how we talk to folks, and when we talk to folks. Because there's some folks that are like, yeah, my entire campaign is I'm going to email blast everyone in my district and then do 2 Facebook posts.
Yeah.
But then you ask them, do you have a win count, the number you need specifically to win? Like mine is about 7,300-ish. Some of them don't know that. I would love, specifically, if the state party had time, when you go and you get a nomination, you get past the primary, they literally give you a package.
Yeah.
Based on the last 3 elections, this is the number you need to win. These are the media in your local area. These are some starting policy points. But yeah, let's throw all that out. Let's just throw all that out. Let's go down to the basics. Do you know the branding style of the Democratic Party? The actual colors.
Yeah.
The actual,
Yeah.
the actual stylized lettering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like most of it, like there's a whole bunch of stuff that could be worked on that
Yeah.
I don't see anyone working on.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems so logical. Like everything you're saying to me, it feels like it's very basic. It feels like this is just the starting points of just having cohesive campaigns that all kind of look similar across the board. So
Making sure
like
you have a list of vendors so you don't get scammed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen people
Yeah.
get scammed out
yeah.
$2,000, $3,000.
Oh yeah, when you're trying to get lit together and any type of, anything like that. So you've already kind of went into some of the changes that you would make, but I'm just curious from the standpoint of someone who just wants to know more about it. Why do you think there's so much dysfunction in the party? Is it just the current leadership? Is there maybe an age? Is this an age discrepancy thing where just the party leadership is just kind of just not thinking about these things like social media and some of these other things that maybe a younger person would think about? Like, what do you think the root of the issue? I mean, I know that's a lofty question, but just generally speaking, where do you think so many of these problems stem from?
A blender of shrapnel, whole bunch of problems that all bump against each other multiple times,
I see.
and then it's compounded by the person who gets to turn on and off the blender. I'd say the current administration is the person that gets to turn on and off the blender, but there are components of other folks that are scratching each other in bad ways because they've been scratched before. A great example being it's hard for someone to say we're going to be helpful in the party and we're going to work with folks when, like, I was giving myself as an example. I had a conversation with someone about, like, hey, we need to do a better job of actually doing stuff at these meetings. What I would love to see in my administration would push for is an alternative system. So you do have to come there because you do need to count towards a meeting, because if you miss three meetings, you're out.
Yeah.
3 strikes rule. But I would love it if, hey, there's an alternative meeting. I know you really don't care about this, and also there's nothing important to you here. So when we have this meeting, we're going to be having a secondary version of it where we're having mock drills. We're going to be showing you how to phone bank, how to door knock. We have volunteer, because we have these meetings in big metros where there's at least 1,000 Democrats that will be willing to step up. How to do call time, because there's a difference between call time and phone banking on how you talk and what you talk about. And the response to that was, this person knew that I was this person knew that I was in an interracial relationship. And they said, to my response of the party is lacking in this area of organization, yeah, I don't believe you care about that. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, yeah, I just believe that your girlfriend, or whatever you got is the exact words they use, is controlling you on this matter. I'm like, no,
She's such an odd cop out.
Well, it's the blender situation where the idea isn't to find amends. I just want to antagonize you out of the party.
I see.
Because that was the whole tenor of the conversation, was like, hey man, I don't have a good response to that. I'm gonna give you an M&M nuke and hope that blows it up. Which is frustrating because it makes it hard to move past that. And I have done a good job of moving past that. I'm still going to be in conversation with that person because they're an SDC member and because I do want to advocate for everyone, including them, to have a better party.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like you're taking the right steps. And I think that's kind of what I want to end on here is, you're running for office, and I think I'm safe in assuming this is the first time you've run for an elected position on this level.
Yes, I did try to run for. I try to run for state. I try to run for my city's Board of Education.
Okay.
There was a special election. It was the first time that they were allowing that, and I thought I'll be honest. I thought I had it in the bag because I hit my win count, but I wasn't aware of all the intricacies, and I'll be frank with you. I did not think, because there's the actual supporters and then there's the power structure around them.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm running against this guy and this guy. I need 50 votes to win. And they're like, no, you're running against that guy, and that guy's brother, who is a sitting city councilman that got all his city council votes.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up getting blown out by like 50 to 250. But every single person that when they got there to the actual election day, they did not convert a single one of my voters. So that's one of the things I am very highly happy for, is even years before I had the credentials of what I have now, because that was 2019.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Even before that, I found that it was easier to talk to folks and be willing to convert them into your position when you're transparent on where your intentions are. And at that time, my intentions were fresh out of high school. I don't like the way some of this stuff went.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you've had that experience, and now you're running for the state house seat, which I'm sure is an entirely different beast. And running for office can be one of the most difficult things that anyone can do, especially at your age. The fact that you are running kind of an uphill battle in a red state like Alabama. So what are some of the tips and advice that you can give to other young people, regardless of if they're in Alabama or any other part of the country, especially if they're in a part of the country that's a little more conservative, or just a part of the country that's in opposition to what they believe in? What are some of the tips and advice you can give them on how to get started and just how to push forward in doing something like this, running for an elected position or getting engaged in politics in any matter? Like, what are some of the tips you can give that individual?
The first thing I would say is it's going to be emotionally and just structurally taxing on you. There's a lot of folks that are already politicians running for different positions, so they already have a guaranteed money line that they don't have to worry about working and doing the politicking of running for office. So that pressure is going to make some stress points in your life.
Sure.
And Alabama actually has a really bad track record of folks getting into a race. And by the end of the race, they don't have a partner, or they are in bad situations with their family. The first thing is just make sure you're secure on that front. Second thing is I would actually suggest one of those little CDs that you can put $400 or $500 into, and it matures 3, 6, 12 months. I'm going to be frank with you. You might want to go put 1,000 down. You were like, oh, I don't need this money now. Like, there may come a time 6 months from now where your campaign manager pulls you aside and says, hey, you need to hit 30 doors a day. You probably need to, at least for the next 2 to 3 weeks right before the election, quit your job. That's going to come in handy.
Yeah.
At the very least, look what day you can get started on running. So in our case, we can start raising and spending funds a year out. If you have the personal funds, dump that into the first 3 to 6 month CDs. That way it's a guaranteed financial support system, because you may think right now you don't need it, but something may pop up, an emergency may pop up, and you have guaranteed money coming on the back end. I would also say, know what you are running for, because there's a distinct difference. I want to run because I want to better my community, and I want to run because this, that, the other. Because there's some places where it's going to be difficult to run. If you don't already have the infrastructure, because the state of Alabama has terrible, reason why I'm running for chair, state of Alabama has terrible infrastructure when it comes to our candidates. It means you have to build your own infrastructure, and then you have to build your own name ID, which can take 2 cycles. So most people don't win their first election until it's their third run. So, like, for example, if I end up winning this election, it will be partly because some of the expertise and the skills I built up from years ago, that 2019 race, taught me a few things. So I start at a higher grade of candidate. Goes back to bench building. But it's really important to make sure you're on the same page with folks. And like, if I said you only have 3,000 Democrats in your district and you need 7,000 votes to win, you need to be open and honest with yourself. That way you don't have a gigantic breakdown election day. And if you feel like this is getting to the point where you cannot win, but you want to keep in it, find something that you truly believe in and work that, because it is now your microphone to push people on a certain issue. A great example being moratoriums on data centers. But I know I have a really good shot to win my race just because Democrats held it since Reconstruction up until recently. And since 2018, it's actually gotten more competitive because it was the 5th most competitive race. A Democrat got 44.6% of the vote. But since that time, they actually sliced it in half and removed the rural half. It's a metro seat now.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty sure it moved just neutrally 2 points to Democrats.
Oh, wow.
That still is like 800 votes short. I got to go find them. But I'm finding that it's more of an issue of apathy than it is voters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my campaign and I have contacted 17,000 folks in the district, and a lot of them are just like, I guess, maybe come back to me later. I don't really care that much because I don't see any real change locally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how do you convince them? How do you convince them that you're different and that your ideas would actually better their community?
I think it depends on what you bring to the table beforehand. It's sad to say you do have to do stuff in your community. Yep. In my case, it was some of the volunteer work. A great example being there was 13 votes I got from folks that just sit around the library, but have seen me go read to children when they needed someone to step up to read to them, and go upstairs in the teen zone and teach those kids how to cook. I taught them red beans, rice, and pork chops. Nice. That me investing in my community because it was the right thing to do, not because I was getting anything out of it, made that community invest back into me of at least trusting me to have the conversation. I would say if you're starting from scratch, be open and honest with people. Like, hey, I don't have a lot on my resume. I really want my community to be better, and I want to have a conversation with you about how we're going to do that.
Absolutely. Well, you're a breath of fresh air, in my opinion, Mr. Hunter. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Where can people find more information about you and your campaign?
So you can go to www.voteforroberthunter.com. It's a number 4. It's not the letter 4. You can find me under that, voteforroberthunter.com, almost everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X. And for the chairmanship race, it's Robert Hunter for Democratic State Chair, and that's a Facebook account. And if anybody is interested in either one, they can contact me through those. And there is a public document that is the Hunter Administration 2026 to 2030 that's open to anybody to go see.
Awesome. Well, Robert, we really appreciate you sitting down and taking some time to talk with us today.
Thank you for having me. I hope you have a good one.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to the Calhoun County Young Democrats podcast. Remember, you are not alone. We'll see you guys next time.